Welcome to On the Line. I'm Joe Mullings, and in studio today, I've got a special guest. Introduce yourself.
Kristin, brand strategist. Thanks, Joe, for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Kristin has joined us now for about a month. Yep.
Just about.
And we were super fortunate enough to bring her online to work closely with all of our branding here at TMG, JSM, Precruit, and whatever else we can come up with. Share a little bit about your background, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. I would say an agency corporate hybrid marketer. I've been in marketing about 20 years. Started on the agency side, leading the largest woman-owned agency in New Jersey, Fiore. Moved to the corporate side for a CMO position a few years ago, about 3 years ago. And for the last couple of years, I've been consulting.
Yeah. She's down here in Florida
Here I
now,
am.
finally out of New Jersey.
Yes.
Although I love New Jersey, all my Jersey people.
Yeah, and it's hot here today, so.
Yeah, it's hot in Jersey, though, too. I was in New York City 2 weeks ago, and it was hotter there than it was here.
Yeah, it's thick. The air is thick there.
Yeah, it's the blacks. It's the
But
asphalt.
the energy is different.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do miss that. Miss that in New York. So I thought it'd be great for Kristin to join us today because, a lot of organizations, a lot of people, situations are talking about branding and corporate branding, personal branding, and really just how would you define the word branding in today's world?
Unfortunately, branding is becoming really overused, and I think, the latest buzzword, but your brand, your company, or your personal brand is your promise. It's, as Bezos says, what people say about you when you leave the room, it's more than that. It's really what you want to say to people when you're in the room.
Yeah. And is branding opinion? Is it symbols? Is it word of mouth? Is it online? How do you break it down as an expert?
It's everything. I mean, when you're talking about personal branding, I say Google yourself. What comes up? Nothing comes up, that's your brand. That's a problem. So you need to do more work then. And the same as a company. Google yourself. If you have incredible reviews, if you see your own website, articles, your leadership is writing great pieces, they're positioning themselves as experts in the industry, that's a great brand.
And so people now, LinkedIn's brand, right? So as an organization, it's a brand. But what's really interesting to look at the last decade is how people are representing themselves, their brand, on LinkedIn. And since we're a career show, I thought it'd be appropriate to maybe open with that and insight, advice on the LinkedIn brand.
I could go on for a while there.
We got time.
Well, I think LinkedIn has changed so dramatically since the Microsoft purchase a few years ago. Now people are really paying attention to their personal brand more than ever, and rightfully so, they should be. If you were on LinkedIn a few years ago, it was kind of a dead zone. There was not much activity there, that people weren't really updating their profiles. The only time you really took to LinkedIn was when you were looking for a job, or I would say on your side, when you're looking for people who are looking to make a move, a transition. Things have changed. Now it's become a really active social network. So you're able to build connections, build relationships, find clients, and candidates also. It's still a really active job search platform, but it's just beyond that now. It's important to have a presence there. It's important, no matter where you are in your career, I think, to have a presence. Just at a basic level to network and build relationships.
And so let's start with the no-brainer, the picture. So what are people doing right that you see, and what are people doing less right?
Well, a professional headshot is important. It can be more relaxed. I think it depends on the industry you're in, depends what you want to get across. If you're looking for a more corporate position, or if you're in a corporate position, then you would have an appropriate image for that. When I say professional, you don't need to spend $1,000 on a professional headshot, but it's important to have clean, well-dressed, well-lit headshot. Get your hair done, get your makeup done for the day, splurge a little, and get a great headshot done. And you can have one of your colleagues do it, or a friend do it with an iPhone. You don't need anything fancy, but it should be professional looking.
Any opinion on the number of times you rotate the picture? Any advantage to that? I
know,
rotate mine all the time. That's
Yeah,
what I'm asking.
well, I think it's different for you. And I think it's different for an entrepreneur and that spirit. I would expect it to be rotated fairly often. You know, I'm in marketing, so I want people to pay attention to my brand. And so I treat mine a little differently. I make it stand out. I have a color circle around my headshot. I use the same color threaded through my profile, through my header photo. So I would suggest the same depending on the industry you're in.
Yeah. And then how about what you taught me the other day, you showed me, is that space right below the bar, right? Which I've been on that forever, and I think I'm a rock star on there, and I wasn't even aware of that. Would you explain that? Real
Sure.
estate?
Your profile header, there's a few key components to the profile. The things that stand out very quickly, you know, you only have a few seconds to catch someone's attention, especially from a recruiter perspective or a headhunter perspective, what they're looking for. You can speak more to that, but your image, your header image is also important, which is the large photo behind your headshot, and your profile, the profile header. So the header is automatically populated based on your last position. So if your last position is director of XX, it'll just automatically populate into that area if you don't go ahead and change it. I suggest adding as much as you can in there and really personalizing it or customizing it to your position. So what are the needs of your audience, your customer, your client? That's where you answer those needs right in that header. So they know right away when they get there, what am I dealing with? What are they going to do for me?
And so you and I were brainstorming this past week. Our firm's going over to London. There's a big show over there, London Valves. It's a structural heart interventional cardiology show, very specialist. It's a specialty-oriented show. And we're doing some work on putting out content and driving awareness and setting up for that. Do you want to share a little bit about what I might think about doing in that case?
Sure. I mean, there's, you know, a few different perspectives on how to approach a show, but I look at it from a marketing perspective. It's if you're already investing to go to the show, to bring your team, to pay for a booth, then you need to leverage it. So that should lead probably 3 to 4 months before an event, depending on the industry and timing. And so that starts with reaching out to contacts well before, starting to kind of plant those seeds that you'll be there driving and leading up to it, to schedule appointments, to gain press exposure, also for SEO value. So I would write 2 or 3 articles leading up to that show and start to infuse the show information into your articles so it becomes searchable. As people start to get closer to the show, they start to do more research on it. I'm a big fan of press always. I think public relations is really important. So both for the businesses that are at the show and those coming to the show, that's your opportunity where you have press all in one place.
What do you mean press? Give me a little more, go deeper dive on that for me, press.
Your editors of publications, industry publications, go to those events to see what's happening in the industry. So they're there. And you just need to find them and set some time up with them and schedule appointments.
So in that case, if there's a top magazine that covers this structural heart show, I should reach out to them before I go to the show?
Absolutely.
And I should make an appointment to chat with them about what?
Specifically from your perspective, I would say introduce a client. So you have a client attending the show.
Yeah.
You can introduce them and say, I spoke to Joe at this publication at Forbes. He's going to be there. I know he's looking to cover this. Maybe we can schedule an interview.
Okay.
Or you can offer your client to that.
Got it. So you're the conduit between
Conduit,
getting
yes.
PR for
Potentially.
your client.
Potentially.
And as I've learned over the years that organizations are always looking for content.
Absolutely.
And if you can make their job easier in setting that content up and it's contextual, you're doing everybody a favor and you're the person who is the conduit. That's real good.
And what you're doing is really unique for the industry. So I think you have an angle there generally. So you can reach out to press and set up interviews and just propose a certain angle from your perspective as well.
Yeah. Caitlin, put that on the list, would you? Put that on the list of We have 3 weeks. Hop on that. Yeah. So we're going out. It's Structural Hearts. The large strategics are there. The emerging technology startups are there. As shows go, it's relatively intimate. It's a smaller show, but man, who's there? It's in London downtown, so it's a great venue. What are the things additionally I should think about doing? We've been putting out articles. We've put out some podcasts. Watch the podcast. Gio and I dropped last week. We continue to put out content valuable for the market. What else should I be thinking about before I go and then when I'm there as well?
Yeah. How I look at leveraging a show is how can we make the most impact and most noise in a valuable way when we're at the show. So if you've invested in a booth, you can consider doing your media from the booth, so a live podcast within the booth, and then you can invite clients or prospective clients that are at the show to join in on the podcast. That's one take. If you can't do it on the show floor or you're just attending, you could secure a room nearby, host an event there, a seminar, maybe a speaking engagement of some kind. You can invite a panel of people that are attending the show. The great opportunity there is you have everyone in one place at one time. That's a very rare occasion, both from a competitive side. They don't usually sit at the table together.
True.
And then from your perspective as a partner, to be able to access them all at once. So what can you do for them that will help elevate them at the show?
That's a really good point. And so again, being that conduit is elevating your brand in the eyes of the customers that you're trying to get the attention of.
Yes.
So branding isn't always overt with symbols and articles in itself. It's just another move, but a facilitator, a conduit to putting people together, and everybody remembers that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just builds even awareness for you, you know, at that show.
And then how about follow-up after the show from a branding perspective? What should I be doing? Should I be taking pictures of myself at the show with people? Should I have my video crew going with me? You know, we go a little heavy on that stuff, but people love it.
Yeah. Well, I think too, in today's social environment, documenting your process is valuable. So just to have that footage and be able to figure out what you want to do with it later, to have that B-roll is great. I look at shows as an opportunity to be the first one to get back to your customer following that event. So I don't like post-show. I like it at the show. So I want a handshake, and then I'm going to email you immediately. So I would set up automation for every single contact that signs up on a list or that you meet there, that your business card immediately is populated into your email blast system, and they get an email before they get home from that trip.
So yeah, that's good. That's live. Kate, make that happen too. She said on it. Did you hear her? She's very energetic. Put the camera on her. Go ahead. So we've got our camera team going, right? And we're documenting the journey, which is a lot of fun. We'll be shooting outside the venue as well, right? Be on the streets of London, doing some direct-to-camera things. What should I think about in branding there? Should I speak about the show? Should I speak about why I'm in London? What opportunities might present themselves there?
I think a little bit of everything. And I think you'll draw some attention, just generally, having a film crew. My guess is that most of the people attending that show, the types of companies, are not going to have that.
Right.
So I think you'll draw attention just naturally from that. Go with it. You know, you can pull people in and interview right there. Just people who are attending the show. Those opportunities for those conversations usually can spark even more excitement around the brand.
It's very true. That's true. And then follow up when I do get back. So I know you want to, as you pointed out, hit it while I'm there. But when I'm back, what are some moves I should think about?
Well, I think it kind of continues from before the show. Now you can kind of hopefully you built some evergreen content, and so you can release it then over time. I'm a big believer in build, the biggest amount of content, produce your largest amount of content up front, and then utilize that over time. So write an article, post-show, invite a client to write an article, cover them, interview them, incorporate these relationships into your content, and then piece it out over time. So from that one larger piece of content, I'll call it the macro content, then you can pull out these micro pieces and use that. And it should sustain you for a good period of time.
You were a business owner, a large agency in Jersey, right? And I love the fact that it was the largest female-owned agency, which is cool. Do you ever look at the ROI investment on those shows for you, or is that just something, the old adage of marketing, 50% of the money you spend there works and 50% doesn't? You just don't know which 50% it is?
I always look at budget, you know, but you have to determine what the goals are going in. So for everyone going to a show, it's different. Usually it's sales and lead generation, but that isn't the brand awareness measurement. So there's that whole other layer. And lead generation isn't what's going to get you press. You know, things, looking at press and things like that, you can leverage that over a long period of time. So I've gone to shows, we've gotten a Wall Street Journal article. That article lasts a long time, and then I can leverage that in an email blast. I can pull pieces from it. But once you get a really high-level piece of content like that in a high-level publication, it can then stretch you for a long period of time. So there's incredible value in that, beyond the traditional value of a show.
So, and I want people to understand and listen to that closely. There's lead generation, there's the sale, then there's the near-term marketing, and then there's the ongoing establishment of the brand.
Yeah, long-term.
Yeah, and that's super critical to understand, and not enough people, I think, spend time understanding just continuing to slowly add layer over layer over layer of what that brand means. Because my personal philosophy with TMG and my brand JSM is technology is going to change, meaning the technology, the market I work in, right? And customers are going to change. And the way we do business is going to continue to change. Look at how it's shifted just in the last few years in the talent acquisition world, and how we reach people and what you reach them with and how they respond to you. But what transcends all that is your brand.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that really is your anchor at the bottom of everything. And that brand, I think more and more people, to your point, your reputation when you walk in the room, when you leave the room, what you did that day may not matter as much, but it certainly does impact your brand long and short term, potentially on how amazing or how terrible it was, right? So I think we started out talking about brand as being a buzzword, but I do think it's an anchor for your business. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So how do you leverage these shows?
I'm with you. So it's interesting. We have, we go in different ways, right? So I look at us almost like it's a military maneuver. So example, in particular, let's use this show. When Gio goes to a show with me, and he specializes in a lot of our European work, he'll go in and he'll be booked from 6:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. Probably 45 minutes to an hour in between, like appointment after appointment after appointment after appointment. And he's looking at really sort of near-term goals, near-term engagement, brand building. I'm here, meaning him. I'm here. Look at me. You know, it's a $5,000 to $7,000 spend for our firm for a couple of days in London. By the time you work in the economics, but he's there for more near-term build than long-term brand build. Although together, I go the other way. I'm there for really long-term brand build, and I'll have maybe 6 meetings over 4 days, where Gio might have 30. And mine are a little bit more of a top-down perspective on what does the talent acquisition strategy look like for your firm over the next 18 months. And then at the same time, I'm building out the TMG and JSM brand of on the street, talking about what you should do for your career, talking about what you should do in this industry. Chatting, we'll have a couple podcasts over there. One is we're looking to acquire a technology business to add onto our corporation here. Another one is with a very good client, Halma, who's going to be out about 45 minutes outside city center in London, and we'll go out and see them. So I'll try and tie this into client visits in addition to being at the show. But they're usually super high level, long-term moves for me. But again, we go in with our ground troops like Gio, and a lot of our shows are like that, whether it's Holly or Matt or some of the others. They'll go and do the more face-to-face.
Do you find that they're open to talking to you on the show floor or
Yeah.
setting up?
Yeah, two reasons, right? Even if you're a hiring manager, we're so good at what we do that they're like, whenever a client talks to us, they're talking to us for needs for their firm, but right behind that, they're saying, yeah, keep me in mind because, in 5 years, I might have to move to California and I want to call you. So we're super fortunate that customers of ours are on both sides, the hiring managers and the individuals who are looking for jobs. So yeah, they love to talk to us. And there used to be a stigma talking to a headhunter at shows. But that went out when, one is you become a shaker and a mover in the industry. So who knows why you're talking to them for personal needs or corporate needs. And then LinkedIn changed all that when it all of a sudden became acceptable to have your entire professional profile out there online.
Sure.
When before that, Monster only had unemployed people on it.
Right.
For those of us that are old enough to remember Monster.com. So
I'm not.
you're not? No.
No.
26, 27? So yeah, that's what we do. And again, I'll have my team with me, my media team, and we'll grab content on the trip, in the plane, in the airport, in the hotel, dinner. It's always got a camera on you, and you never know what you're going to catch. And as long as people enjoy watching it, and we still put out super valuable stuff for them, that's building our brand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
That was fun.
It was.
I'm going to make you do this again.
I figured you would.
Well, this has been On the Line. I'm Joe Mullings,
Kristin Gallucci.
and I'll take us out for this one. See you soon.